It's not going to be easy, and there's going to be many arguments about money. The people with money have got a lot of power. They can control the government with all their money. But what they don't know what to do is how to control literally millions of small organizations. They can break up any big thing they want, but they don't know when they come to a million small organizations, where do they start first? And that's what we have. We don't all agree completely, but we know that we've got to find solutions for this problem, which the people with money say it's impossible. We must have oil and gas. I'm not a scientist. I'm only a singer that's gotten people to sing with him. And when I have a crowd of people all singing together, then I know there is hope for the world.
That's what we wanted to talk to you about, is how the music brings people together.
All the arts are needed to save the human race. The visual arts, the dancing arts, the cooking arts, the humor arts, the sports arts, and no one can say exactly where to start except right where we are. The great biologist René Dubos from France, I guess you don't pronounce the S in French, Dubos, he said, think globally, act locally.
Does that tie in with your idea about the village and the community?
This little club here used to be a diner, but we had some carpenters that pushed the walls out. Now, instead of being 11 feet wide, it's 28 feet wide. And we met. I called a meeting when the floor was rotting away. It was a diner serving coffee for people waiting for the ferry. But the ferry closed in 1964 when they built the bridge. And so the diner closed. And 7 years later, the floor was just rotting away. You could put your foot through it. But we tore it out and put in a cement floor, and it's still there. And as I said, it's now bigger than it was. It's still 44 feet long, but it can take 100 people sometimes. And after the supper, the potluck supper, which is on now, at 7:30 there'll be a short meeting. It's a kind of a contest between people who wishes it was a shorter meeting. Who want to say something.
I know what you mean.
I've been to those kind of meetings.
That's
and
great.
then around 8:30, more or less, the meeting's over, and anybody wants to stick around and have a song fest, sticks around. We clear out the chairs in the center of the room, and people sit in a irregular oblong around the edge of the room. And sometimes the song fest is so good people don't want to go home. It lasts 2 or 3 hours, and once 4 hours, and once 5 hours. We're at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That must have been fun.
And it's quite a good song fest. People learn to harmonize. Some people come from far off just for the potluck supper. This young man who just walked out comes from the Bronx, right?
Hello.
He works on a television station in the Bronx.
Well, you know, the magazine that we're putting out here, the most recent article that I wrote about was about New Deal art and the WPA. And I think reading a little about you, I understand your father was involved with the writers and musicians, or part of the group there, and you worked with Alan Lomax.
That's right, Alan Lomax and Nicholas Ray, who afterwards became a movie director, directed the movie Rebel Without a Cause.
Oh, yes.
My father, however, had been a lefty when he was younger, and the FBI caught up with him finally. He was at that time in charge of the music department at the Pan American Union. And he said, well, I'll tell you anything about myself, but I won't tell you about anybody else. Oh no, you must tell us all the people you knew. And so he quit and was an independent ethnomusicologist, working mostly with the University of Southern California for the rest of his life.
Did you draw some of your music from the archives of those singers, those Appalachian singers?
Alan Lomax had me listen to thousands of records, early 78 RPM recordings. In the North, they had jazz was the main, swing was the main thing, but down South, they had a hillbilly catalog for the white folks and a race catalog for the black folks. And they had gospel songs and blues there. You're welcome, sir. See, at any rate, it's been an educational life for me to make so many mistakes and still be alive at age 94.
Well, the music brings a lot of joy to people, and I'm wondering how you see that energy, that electricity that goes between people, that pulls people together and makes them come to the music.
I doubt that anybody can really explain why is it that a beautiful Mozart symphony makes you feel good. And even if you hear music from another part of the world, you may not know the language they're singing, but it makes you feel good. You could probably explain it better than I could. I took my 3 children out of school in 1963, and during the next 10.5 months we visited 28 countries. And I found myself singing for our supper in city after city, and occasionally a small country place. We were in Calcutta, India, and I got away one morning to visit a small village. 100 people were having a little village festival. One man looked at me and said, "Pit Seeger." He'd seen my face in the Bengali newspaper, in the Calcutta newspaper.
Wow.
Didn't know how to pronounce my name, but he recognized my face. And he ran and got his 5-year-old daughter, and with his daughter in his arms, they both sang me "We Shall Overcome" in the Bengali language.
Oh my goodness.
That's great. Oh, that's wonderful. You know, we broke up a meeting recently with This Land Is Your Land when we went to protest over at the Delaware River Keeper, and it was great. It was a wonderful moment.
Now, do you mind if we take a few pictures?